Whenever I sign up for a race like the half marathon or the full marathon with a specific goal in mind, the first thing that runs through my head is, how am I gonna run that fast for that far? So today I wanna go over 3 workouts that I utilize in my training that can help you run faster for longer. So let's get to it. Today is day 97 of the run streak, and on the schedule for today is an 8-mile run. And within that 8-mile run, I need to do 6 by 12 second hill repeats with 1 minute recovery between each, followed by 8 by 100 meter strides, again with a 1 minute recovery between each stride. Just hit mile 1, 8:12. Mile 2, 8:14. So the first workout to help you run faster for longer is the lactate threshold workout. So when you are running, your body creates lactic acid, and you have a rate of lactate creation and a rate of lactate clearance. As you increase your effort through a run, so as you increase your pace, the rate of creation will eventually outrun the rate of clearance, which is where you get that lactic acid buildup, you get those heavy legs, and you no longer can sustain the pace that you are running. Lactate threshold workouts have you work right below that threshold limit where creation and clearance are even, to help you build adaptations and become more efficient at your lactic acid clearance so that you can sustain those faster paces for longer distances. Now, there are 3 primary ways to figure out your lactate threshold. You can go into the lab and get tested for it, which is obviously really expensive, and most people do not have access to that. The 2 simpler ways to figure out your lactate threshold is take a recent race time or a goal race time, plug it into a calculator, and the running calculator will give you what your lactate threshold pace should be. And then the third way is utilizing your heart rate to figure out a specific heart rate range that you want to stay in for your lactate threshold. Now, there are a few workouts for the lactate threshold, but there are primarily 2 that I utilize within my training. The first is just your classic lactate threshold run, or what you may have heard called a tempo run. And then the second is a lactate threshold interval, or what may also be called cruise intervals. So if you're early on in your half marathon or marathon training and you know your fitness is just not there to do a full threshold run at whatever that 30 to 40 minutes is straight, look at implementing lactate threshold intervals into your training so that you can break up those minutes into segments or intervals so that you can still get that full duration and get that adaptation for lactate clearance while also not missing the workout completely because your fitness just isn't there. Just hit mile 3, 8:26. Now, the second workout to help you run faster for longer is the VO2 Max workout. And so what VO2 Max is your maximum aerobic efficiency, or your maximum ability to create aerobic energy. Now, unfortunately, there is a genetic component to the VO2 Max, but it is still something that can be improved. And while it may not be as critical to endurance running as the lactate threshold run, VO2 Max is still something that should definitely be trained to help you run faster for longer by helping maximize your aerobic efficiency to whatever your genetic capabilities are. Now, similar to the lactate threshold, there are primarily 3 ways you can figure out your VO2 Max. The first, again, is the lab, which is really expensive and frankly not practical for most. So the second would be, again, plugging in a recent race time or a goal race time, and the running calculator should give you a range for your VO2 max paces. And then the last way to figure out your VO2 max is by heart rate, either max heart rate or heart rate reserve. Now, one thing to note with VO2 max training is you want to ensure that you are in your VO2 max range long enough to actually see the benefits and adaptations from that training. And that is because it takes your body time to actually get into that VO2 max range when you first start an interval. So you want to make sure your intervals are somewhere from 2 to 6 minutes long. So that's roughly 800 to 1600 meter intervals. The paces you want to run will be roughly that 3K to 5K, 3K being the 800 meter, 5K being closer to that 1600 meter. Just hit mile 4, 8:36. All right, I'm coming up to the speed section of the run. The hill is right there. I have my Coros watch set to open before I actually go into the laps, and then it'll auto lap. I'm gonna get a little bit up this hill before I start. And then it's time for the pain cave. All right, about to do lap 2. Here we go. The grade is getting steeper for the hill though, so that is expected. Halfway done. All right, interval 5, here we go. All right, last one of the 100 meter intervals. Here we go. 5:11 for stride number 2. Stride number 3, 3, 2, stride number 4, I'll make it halfway. Woo. Just hit mile 7. I don't actually know what the pace is because my watch is in the cool down laps, so it's completely off now, but it will be on the screen here. All right, the third and final workout to help you run faster for longer is the progression long run with a fast finish. Now this workout is great because it helps build that aerobic endurance over the long run. Plus it helps you build mental endurance by putting you in that race-like state with that progression over the long run and that fast finish at marathon pace up to lactate threshold pace. And again, that fast finish is really to help simulate the race environment, both mentally and physically, and to build that aerobic endurance and the adaptations needed to be able to run your race, whether it be a half marathon or a marathon, at your goal pace for the entire distance. All right, and with that, 8 miles is complete. I did it in 1 hour and 7 minutes. 56 seconds with an 8:29 minute mile average. I may or may not have miscalculated how far I was running out before doing those hill intervals and am nowhere near my house, which means I have to walk home. I'm roughly a mile from my house, which is fun. And with that, those are my 3 workouts that I utilize in my training to help me run faster for longer. And now I'm gonna enjoy this nice walk home.